So joining me now on what accountability could look like is Ambassador Pierre-Richard Prosper. He served as the ambassador at large for war crimes issues during the George W. Bush administration. He was the lead war crimes prosecutor for the UN International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda during the late 90s. Ambassador, really appreciate you spending a few minutes here. So let's start help me understand the process. We are right now investigating, officially trying to gather evidence for likely war crimes that were committed by Russian soldiers. What does this evidence gathering look like when it comes to preparing for a war crimes trial?
Well, thank you for having me, Chuck. Well, what it looks like and what you're seeing is that both the United States government, European governments, NGOs, open sources such as the media are all collecting information of atrocities and starting to put it together. I am sure there are interviews that are taking place of refugees and other individuals, and a package is being created that will allow prosecutors to assess and determine exactly not only what has happened, but who is responsible.
I want to play a line from President Zelensky in his speech to the United Nations yesterday, because he invoked Nuremberg. Take a listen.
We have conclusive evidence, so there are satellite images. We can conduct full and transparent investigation. Anyone who has given criminal orders and carried out them by killing our people will be brought before the tribunal, which should be similar to the Nuremberg tribunals.
Now, Nuremberg took place before there was such thing as an international criminal court, but how similar should we compare a potential trial that could take place, whether Putin's alive or not, when it happens?
Well, I don't think it's helpful to compare it or to have something similar to Nuremberg, because Nuremberg was really the victors of World War II, the Allied powers. What we need here is international condemnation. We need the entire international community to coalesce, come together, and hold Putin and other persons responsible for these atrocities, because this is the only way that the outcome, the justice that is achieved, will have a lasting impact. So I think the best measures to proceed with are pushing within the international community. And when I say that, I mean the global community. This includes Africa, Asia, Latin America, to get everyone together behind the idea of not only accountability, but its pursuit.
Who would be perhaps put on trial? Is it just those that give the orders, or those that follow the orders as well? I mean, is that possible, like Nuremberg?
It is. I think you have to look at not only the actual perpetrators in the field, the soldiers that are committing the atrocities, the egregious acts, but you have to go all the way up the chain of command, because this is a situation where the leaders have the ability to prevent or to punish. They also are presumably or possibly actually giving the instructions or the orders to commit these acts. What we have here is a very undisciplined war. And this outcome was not only foreseeable based on the way that Russia is prosecuting the war, but it's likely that it's part of the policy.
There's a war trial that got started yesterday. The Darfur trial started yesterday, 20 years after the crimes themselves were committed. 200,000 dead, one lone defendant, as the New York Times put it. Is that realistically how long it takes to go from the gathering of evidence to actually presenting the evidence and having a trial like this?
Well, it shouldn't. I mean, I think the reality is we need to recognize that justice is patient and justice can wait, but we don't want to wait 20 years. Chuck, I was part of the determination of the genocide or indicators of genocide in Darfur with under the leadership of Secretary Powell and President Bush at the time. And we had hoped that justice would be achieved pretty quickly, but not 20 years later.
Is it worth having the trial if the leader of that country is no longer walking this earth?
Well, I think it's important to document exactly what has taken place. let's say whether it's Putin or someone else, if they are no longer walking this earth, as you say, it is still important that the societies come to terms with the past, because in order to prevent future atrocities, people need to understand exactly what happened and how these things unfolded. So whether it's ultimately a trial, whether there is some sort of fact-finding truth process, something needs to be had.
Is there anything that the UN can do, or because Russia's a permanent member and can veto really anything that any resolution that's called for, is accountability from the United Nations just not something we should expect?
Well, I think the Security Council will be hampered by Russia being obviously a permanent member, but the General Assembly can take action. The General Assembly can vote, can make its voice known, and be part of that condemnation. It can also make recommendations as to vehicles of accountability. But the Security Council needs to continue what it's doing. It needs to continue to be debating this issue and raising the awareness so that what is happening is absolutely undeniable.
The definition of genocide. We've heard President Zelensky use the word a lot. You just said that, part of your job was to essentially, part of the group that was saying, does this meet the definition of a genocide? What is the definition, and has it been met in Ukraine?
Well, genocide is basically committing a series of acts, whether it's killing, inflicting conditions of life designed to harm and destroy. And you commit these acts with the intent to destroy in whole and apart a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group. Here, I believe we have conduct that is clear that the Russian government, Putin, are trying to definitely intimidate, terrorize the Ukrainian population. The fact-finding aspect that is needed is whether the intent is to destroy them so that they are effectively immaterial to humanity and immaterial to society. I think there are the Russian government is moving closer to that line, but I can't say that they've crossed that line at this moment.
I imagine one piece of strong evidence, though, against the Russians is that Putin speech where he sort of denied the idea that Ukraine had sovereignty. That perhaps, I assume, would be a big piece of evidence, Ambassador?
Well, exactly. Everything that Putin has said, not only during the course of the war, but leading up to the war, will be evidence, because it indicates what his motive is. It indicates what the policy is, and it indicates the mindset for which under which these atrocities have unfolded. What it also shows is that Putin has a firm grasp of the entire command structure. Right. And with that, it is clear that he is either directing what is happening on the ground or has the ability to prevent it if he wished.